We ask ourselves one more time, which props work better as animatronic?
But this time, we wonder about the props that we can find at California Adventure.
And of course, there are plenty of them. So again, thank you for your suggestions.
So let's take a look at 10 props that we think should become animatronics.
So take it away, Will.
Grizzly Bear. Grizzly River Run is a ride that can be loved by many and hated by others that don't enjoy walking around the park soaked for the rest of the day. But one thing we can all agree on is that as beautiful as this ride and its rivers may be, it desperately needs some animatronics on it, or at least some props. Now, we could talk about how we would love to have some animatronics at the ride and some examples of how they would work, like the animals we see in Big Thunder Mountain or the bears in the Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Mine Cars. But this video is about already existing props that should become animatronics. But of course, if you want us to do a video about animatronics that should be added, leave a comment below. So why is this ride on this list? The answer is simple. We can find this immense and characteristic bear prop right outside the ride. This bear is one of our favorite things in California Adventure, and we love to see it while walking around Grizzly Peak. The simple sight of it makes our day happier. Look at that face. Isn't that the definition of happiness? But shockingly, this bear has yet to receive the credit it deserves because it doesn't even have a name or a backstory. He's just there. It's the Duck Squad's duty to give it a name for now, so leave your suggestions below. Of course, this would all change if this prop became an animatronic. Imagine walking and suddenly seeing a gigantic silhouette moving in the distance. As you get closer, you realize it's a giant animatronic bear ready to greet you and make jokes before embarking on the adventure. And this is not impossible. We don't need a lot of movement. It could be like Big Tex, who we talked about recently. Or Disney could use the same technology used to create the genie in the Tokyo Disney Sea's Sinbad storybook voyage. This would improve the area by 200% and make the queue 1,000 times more enjoyable. Bing Bong. When Pixar Pier was announced in D23 of 2017, people had mixed reactions. Some thought bringing more IPs to the park was a mistake because they were removing original attractions. As for us, we thought it was pretty good. California Adventure has had a somewhat troubled history, and we believe the park has been coming together in the past years by adding more new stuff, even if it's just a quick retheme of existing rides and attractions. Many changes were made for this retheme, and we will talk about some of them. The first being Bing Bong's Sweet Stuff. Bing Bong's Sweet Stuff is a candy and souvenir shop full of great merch and themed treats. The overall theme of the shop is very colorful and beautiful, but what stands out most about it is the cute Bing Bong prop. Bing Bong can be found aboard his flying rainbow wagon, surrounded by sweet treats, where he says some recognizable phrases from the movie while crying candy tears with a lighting effect. This was not always the case though. When the store was announced, the concept art was released, and it showed the Bing Bong statue in it. But when the store opened, Bing Bong was nowhere to be found. Instead, we only saw a curtain covering where the statue was supposed to be. In it, we could see Riley's drawings of Bing Bong, and a very questionable trunk peeking from behind the curtain. After some backlash, Disney removed the trunk. And after a while, the statue was uncovered. While the lighting effects and phases make Bing Bong pretty cute, we would love to see him come to life with a little more movement. Making Bing Bong an A100 animatronic would be the way to go, and would make this area even better. The best example we can find of this is Roz in the Monsters Inc. Mike and Sully to the Rescue ride. Even though she is standing still, her movements are fantastic and very lifelike. In addition, Bing Bong could be interactive, so instead of just saying phrases from the movie, he could have some pre-recorded phrases that could make guest experiences more interactive and fun. Dante. Today we'll also cover some temporary props, specifically those appearing during Halloween time at California Adventure, starting with Dante. Back in 2017, California Adventure debuted Plaza de la Familia, an area in the Paradise Gardens area of the park that celebrates the everlasting bonds of family and the spirit of the Day of the Dead. In this annual celebration, we can find shows like a musical celebration of Coco, special crafts, delicious food, and beautiful decor. There are also several photo ops. You can meet Miguel or visit the stunning Tree of Life and leave a remembrance note on the nearby memory wall to honor the many loved ones who have been and will forever be a part of your life. The whole area is fantastic. When we first started writing this video, our first choice of props that should become animatronics in this area were the two huge skeletons that guard the entrance of the plaza. They look beautiful, standing under the Marigold Bridge welcoming guests to the area. But then we remembered another prop that would be even better: Dante. Dante is a stray dog that Miguel adopts to be his pet and friend. He is a Xolo, a Mexican breed that, according to Aztec legend, was given by the gods to humans to guard with their lives. In exchange, these dogs would guide us through the underworld. He is such a cute dog, and he had to have some representation in this area. So every year, he appears surrounded by marigolds at the plaza in his own special photo op. But imagine how much better this area would be if this were a meet and greet with an animatronic Dante instead of a photo op. He could move, bark, and wag his tail, kind of like a more articulated version of the Cosmo animatronic that we can find in the Guardians of the Galaxy mission breakout queue. It would be even better if he could be an autonomatronic. These types of animatronics are interactive. They are equipped with sensors and cameras that allow them to react in a different and autonomous way to each guest. They respond to noises and movements around them, just like the Vilus found in the Guardians queue. We understand that having such an advanced animatronic so near guests would be difficult, but there could be a cast member always near taking care of this cute little dog so that people don't damage it. Sully and Mike. Mike and Sully to the Rescue is a ride we call Untapped Potential.
I thought you were gonna be the all-time champ, not the all-time chump.
In theory, it could be a spectacular ride, but it's not. We're not saying that the ride is bad nowadays, especially compared to its predecessor, the infamous Superstar Limo.
This is a nightmare.
But let's be objective. The ride has incredible scenes, like the sushi or door scenes, and the sets and colors are amazing. However, every time we ride it, we feel like something is missing to make it truly outstanding, and we all know that it's the lack of advanced animatronics. We're sure Imagineers knew this, and that's why we have one of the coolest animatronics in all of Disney California Adventure at the end of the ride, the Roz animatronic, which we featured in our video about underrated animatronics. But a clear example of how Disney could improve the ride comes from its biggest competitor, Universal Studios Hollywood. Just a few kilometers away, we can find the Secret Life of Pets ride. This ride is terrific, and one of the things that makes it so great is the number of animatronics on this ride. And of course, the queue. Universal did an excellent job creating simple but eye-catching animatronics, maintaining an incredible balance. We'll be honest with you, we're not huge fans of the movie, but this ride has made us like the franchise. The problem with Mike and Sully to the Rescue is that it doesn't do justice to the film, but there is an easy way to fix it. Most scenes work as they are, and it would only be necessary to update technology of existing figures or to replace some animatronics completely. The extra monsters should remain animated props, and of course, we wouldn't want to get rid of the CDA agents as they are now, because they are an excellent tribute to Superstar Limo. But we prefer to have high-quality animatronics of Sully, Mike, Boo, and Celia at strategic points of the ride, rather than having them appear multiple times with limited movements. Don't you agree? The A100 Plus animatronics could be Celia in the sushi scene, Sully in the bathroom scene, and Mike, finally, in the door scene. With these changes, the ride could finally pay tribute to one of our favorite franchises. So, which monsters would you like to see as animatronics on the ride? Guido. Cars Land is one of the most beautiful lands in any Disney park, and ever since it opened in 2012, it has been an enormous success. The only area that was kind of lacking when the land opened was the Luigi's Flying Tires ride. This ride was based on the Flying Saucers attraction that used to be at Tomorrowland in Disney during the 60s. But this time, instead of floating bumper cars in the shape of flying saucers, the Luigi attraction featured bumper cars whose riders steer big levitating truck tires. Unfortunately, the attraction was not that well received, and so it was announced that it would close in 2015 so that Luigi's Rollicking Roadsters could open in its place. This new ride is a trackless dancing car ride, where Luigi invited his cousins over from Italy for a dance festival. Very cute. But for a long time, someone was missing from this ride: Guido. Luigi's employee and, more importantly, the best friend, finally appeared at the Casa de la Tires last year. This cute smiling forklift was moved right next to the Leaning Tower of Tires in honor of the 10th anniversary of Cars Land, where people could meet him and take pictures with him. Not only that, but he has also received Halloween and Christmas outfits. He has been appearing and disappearing occasionally in this area, but we would like to propose that he should not only take permanent residence in this area, but also become an animatronic, or at least a moving prop. Of course, we can only dream of him becoming an animatronic like the ones we see in the Radiator Springs Racers ride. But we understand that that would be quite difficult, especially being so near guests who could damage him. And because he would be there permanently, it would be tough to have a cast member guarding him, just like what we mentioned with Dante. So maybe making him able to close his eyes every once in a while and move them just like the character meet and greets at the land, maybe that could work? What do you think? Headless Horseman statue. There is no better Halloween Disney movie than The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And yes, we stand by this, knowing there are lots of iconic Halloween films in the Disney catalog. We actually made a video talking about some of them a while back, if you want to check it out. But The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is our favorite. Just look at these beautiful fall scenes combined with some of the most haunting sights and sounds of any Disney film. What can be more Halloween than this? And of course, the Headless Horseman has become one of the scariest and darkest Disney villains. But as iconic as he is today, he did not used to appear at the parks as much as he does today. His first appearance was in the Boo to You parade at Disney World, and after this, he began appearing more and more at the parks. But it wasn't until 2016 that he appeared at the Disneyland Resort leading the Frightfully Fun parade with Ichabod Crane. But his appearance was not only limited to Disneyland, but also this iconic statue arrived at Buena Vista Street and has become an icon during the Halloween celebrations at California Adventure. This statue is spooky in the best kind of way. It shows the horseman rearing his horse, holding his pumpkin head aloft in one hand. During the day, it looks fantastic too, but at night, it is hauntingly beautiful. The horse's eyes glow in different colors, and he exhales fog out of his glowing red nostrils. The pumpkin head has a very spooky glow, and we can hear the horseman laughing and riding occasionally. The statue is fantastic, and we love seeing it, but we'll let our minds wander and imagine that it doesn't only have light and sound effects, but also moves too. Can you imagine how perfect that would be? Looking at it, we think an animatronic horse would not be necessary, so the horse could continue being a prop just like it is now. But we would love if the horseman became an A100 animatronic. It would not have to have much movement, not even turning his head because, well, he doesn't have one. But a little movement in his hands and feet would be greatly appreciated. We know this animatronic would be temporary and would have to be removable because it only stays there during the Halloween celebrations, but so does the animatronic Jack Skellington and Oogie Boogie from the Haunted Mansion holiday overlays, so that it could be easily done. Inside Out Emotions. When the concept art was released for Pixar Pier, many of us noticed the new Inside Out ride. And what we noticed about it was that it would be a completely recycled ride from A Bug's Land that would be closing later that year. First, we saw it as a small area of the concept art, and then this was released. But, of course, we prefer that they recycled Flick's flyers rather than destroy it. The ride was relocated and rethemed as Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind. And it's basically the same ride. And it took a while to open. It opened a full year after Pixar Pier debuted, and maybe no one would have minded how long this recycled ride took to open if the props of joy, sadness, and the other emotions had been animatronics or even animated props. You might think this is impossible because they would be exposed to the weather. However, Imagineers designed these animatronics with specialized materials and techniques to withstand outdoor elements. The outer casing, or skin, is typically made of materials that resist UV radiation, moisture, and extreme temperatures to prevent fading, cracking, or warping. Internal components are carefully designed and sealed to protect against environmental hazards like water, dust, and debris, using specialized coatings, gaskets, and other protective measures. Therefore, they could use these techniques to design animatronics with a few movements, but a wide variety of facial expressions. The best example of an animatronic of this kind would be the Madame Bouche animatronic that can be found at Disney World's Enchanted Tales with Belle attraction. In fact, these animatronics could function as a show that occurs every 15 minutes, talking about emotions. In addition to this improvement in animatronics, they could change the machinery that holds the emotion spheres to make them move. You might think this sounds crazy, but it's not so far-fetched if we consider that Disney has just done it with the renovation of Toontown's Goofy's house. So now, we can see a complex systems of balls and air tubes. We loved it as soon as we saw it because these kinds of details make Disney parks unique. Edna Mode and Jack Jack. Another retheme that came with the renovation of Pixar Pier. We did say that it was controversial, but one of the ride rethemes that caused a lot of excitement at first was the Incredicoaster. The first concept art for this retheme showed the Incredibles characters all over the roller coaster. In fact, we made a video back then covering everything coming to Pixar Pier in this retheme, And we animated the character concept arts, believing that the roller coaster would have at least one animatronic. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and this ended up disappointing a lot of people. Although the Incredicoaster is one of our favorite rides in Disney's California Adventure, especially at night, we have to admit that it's super disappointing not to have any animatronics, especially in the final scene. It's a huge missed opportunity, and we know that having many of these figures as complex animatronics is not justified since the vehicles pass by very quickly. So honestly, the sound effects, projections, and even the scent effects do a great job. However, some movement would be appreciated. But what we can't forgive is the Edna mode and Jack Jack figures being static at the end of the ride, especially since it's the final scene. We can assure you that if these two figures were animatronics, no one would complain about the rest of the props on the coaster. Currently, the vehicles spend about 10 to 15 seconds in this scene, which totally justifies Edna mode being an A100 plus animatronic, just like the dwarves we find on the Seven Dwarves Mine Train. This means that she can have a wide variety of joints and movements, but her lenses should be ideal for projection. We know that we've talked terribly about projected face animatronics, but we could deal with having her eyes and glasses projected for this one. But just that. On the other hand, Jack Jack is a large prop, so he could be a more basic animatronic and have limited movement, like the props we can see at the end of the Mine Train ride also. Who here agrees that this would make the ride so much better? Redwood Creek, First Spirits. These are probably some of the most unknown props in this video for many people watching, and you can find them in the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail area. This is one of the most easily missed areas in all of California Adventure because it is a little bit hidden. But the trail has been there since the day the park opened in 2001. The area features several paths simulating a trail in a redwood forest. It also has stairs and rope bridges, a traverse rock climbing wall, a zip line, side-by-side sliders, and an amphitheater. In addition, the area has had several movie overlays, such as Brother Bear, The Wilderness Explorers from Up, and most recently, Raya and the Last Dragon. In the last few years, this area has become much more known, and this is thanks to Oogie Boogie Bash, because since the Halloween party came over to California Adventure, the area has been completely transformed into the Villain's Grotto, complete with projections, sound effects, lighting, and fog, which make this trail a very unique and fantastic experience. But even without the Halloween overlay, this area is very interesting and full of curious details, like the Spirit Cave, where by touching a rock, you can find your spirit animal. The trail is inspired by Miwok legends that talk about the first spirits, so much so that at the trail's ends, we can find beautiful carvings of these spirits. Seeing them is a treat after completing the trail challenge. Disney could change these carvings to animatronics. Imagine walking and suddenly hearing some magical sounds. You turn around and boom, you see these spirits come to life. Instead of reading the description, they tell you who they are. These animatronics could work just like the Mystic Manor animatronics. With simple movements, but with the help of projections, they appear more magical than they actually are. The area usually closes earlier than the park. So if the park closes at 10, the trail closes at 7:45. But they could make this new experience exclusive to the nighttime, just like the Villain's Grove. That way the area could still be open at night, making guests want to experience this. And of course, it would bring people to this area that is usually a bit empty at night. Jessie. We won't lie, Jessie's Critter Carousel is the least exciting thing for us when we go to California Adventure. This was another one of the changes that came to the area when Pixar Pier was announced, and it replaced King Triton's Carousel of the Sea, which wasn't very exciting either. We know this may sound harsh, and we respect that 100% if you enjoy it, but you can't deny that the carousel is relatively hidden, and even though the critter designs are cool, there's not much to see there, especially when we compare it to King Arthur Carousel and racing people to ride jingles. The attraction needs something eye-catching, and this could change entirely if Jessie were an animatronic instead of a prop. Of course, we realize that Jessie is outside the carousel, so the attraction itself would most likely stay the same if this happened. But honestly, everyone would want to stop and see this immense animatronic and have it be the main attraction. It's not crazy to have an advanced animatronic outside the queue. Walk a few feet forward to Midway Mania and watch the Mr. Potato Head animatronic entertaining anyone who walks by. Now, we realize that Jessie is bigger than Mr. Potato Head, but there is the technology currently to create this type of animatronic. Just think of the Shaman of Songs, which is nearly 10 feet tall. Obviously, the animatronic wouldn't have to be as fluid as the Shaman of Songs. Just having an articulated head for expressions and some movement would suffice. Imagine the immense value Pixar Pier would have with all the animatronics we've imagined. Do you think Disney should invest in technology to continue being the #1 in experiences? If you believe so, check out the first first part of our series. And if you've already watched it, check out this playlist with all our animatronic videos.